Hi everyone. This is another more modern band today, and actually before I get into it, I want to mention because I've done several of these more modern groups and popular songs recently, and some of you have responded saying, well, this is all well and good, but there's a video that goes with this, and you really have to listen with the video in order to get the music properly. And that kind of makes sense because we're at a point in the development of musical and visual art that there can easily be something which is meant to be both sides of a coin, and if you get one and not the other, you might miss it. It might not really be the whole work of art. However, as you know, I started this channel and I started this project with the idea of focusing on the music because music is my area of expertise. And as much as I love the visual arts, I'm not an expert in that arena. And so sometimes I do include the video. I let Vlad decide which ones to include because obviously I don't know what's coming before I'm here in front of the camera. Sometimes the video is included because we understand that we shouldn't always neglect that. On the other hand, it is interesting and it's fascinating to me to take a piece of music which, whether it's a movie soundtrack or modeled after a movie soundtrack, like say Nightwish, or whether it's a piece of music which was designed as a standalone piece and then turned into a movie like The Wall, or whether it's a more modern piece which was designed with the idea that it will include a visual element as the whole work of art. It is interesting to focus on the music alone and see what the music itself has to offer before you bring in the other medium. Now, of course, that means that I may very well miss some very important messages because there might be certain things which are not present in the music, or at least not obvious in the music, which the visual elements would bring to light very clearly. So I understand that, and actually some of these which have that element, and if I'm not watching it on camera, I will sit down afterwards and watch the videos so that I get a better picture of the whole work of art. But my first listen is, as always, most often just the music. So that's what we're doing here today. This is one which Vlad says probably some of them will say you really should watch the video with this. Okay, I'll do that, but not on camera, not now. I'm going to listen to the music alone first, and you get to watch me with my first listen of the music alone. This is Korn, Freak on a Leash. So let's see what I have to read about it, and then we'll listen. Korn is an American nu metal band from Bakersfield, California, formed in 1993. The band is notable for pioneering the nu metal genre and bringing it into the mainstream. The band first experienced mainstream success with Follow the Leader, 1998, and Issues, 1999, both of which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. As of 2021, Korn had sold more than 40 million records worldwide. 12 of the band's official releases have peaked in the top 10 of the Billboard 200, 8 of which have peaked in the top 5. 7 official releases are certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. 2 are certified double platinum. 1 is certified triple platinum. 1 is certified 5 times platinum, and 2 are certified gold. Korn's debut album has been recognized for its influence on heavy music. Bands such as Cold Chamber, Limp Bizkit, I'm supposed to say Limp Bizkit. I remember that. Slipknot, Machine Head, and Sepultura were inspired by it. Amy Lee of Evanescence, I remember her, also cited Korn as an influence growing up. Freak on a Leash was released as a single on February 25, 1999, and since then it has been re-released over 10 times. It peaked at #6 on the Alternative Songs chart, 10 on the Mainstream Rock Songs chart, and 24 on the UK Singles chart. The song made VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 90s list at number 69, and VH1's 100 Greatest Hard Rock Songs at number 48. Well, that's interesting. Hard rock, even though they seem to have been a new metal pioneer, they made a hard rock list. In 2017, Spin ranked it as number 1 on their list of the 30 greatest new metal songs of all time. Freak on a Leash won 6 awards and was nominated 17 times. Sounds like a pretty popular song. Fairly recent, relatively speaking. Although, I don't know, thinking back now, somehow I have it stuck in my mind that 1999 isn't so long ago, but it's getting kind of far back there. Maybe I'm starting to get old. Anyway, let's see how this sounds.
Takes a part of me, something lost and never seen. Every time I start to believe something's raped and taken from me, from me. Life's gotta always be messing with me. Can't it chill and let me be free? Can't I take away all this pain? I try to every night, all in vain, in vain. Sometimes I cannot take this place. Sometimes it's my life I can't taste. Sometimes I cannot feel my face. You'll never see me fall from grace.
You know, actually, I'm struck by something really not terribly musically relevant. And that is the way he's pronouncing his vowels. It almost has a bit of a strong Australian, we could say Australian broadness to the vowels. Face, face. I guess I've heard that sort of pronunciation in some of the really metal growl voices, and I assumed it was something that made it easier for the voice to navigate. But to hear it here in a fairly ordinary voice is kind of funny. Unless he's Australian. But didn't it say they were a California band? Okay, sure. You can have an Australian in California. Anyway, just a little side thing that I had to put out there because it was almost distracting me. Now I think I can lay it to rest. So I'm listening to this little squeaky sound. Is it electronically produced? Is it a guitar? I'm not exactly sure, but I'm imagining it played on a violin, and it gives it if I imagine it played on a violin, it gives it a kind of a freaky, scary, chilling quality. As it is, it sounds kind of electronic and okay, it could be, I guess I said this about another piece of music. It could be a dial tone. It could be, but this one sounds more like it could be feedback in a mic, in a sound system. Not quite, but kind of has that feel to it. But if I imagine it being played on a violin, maybe maybe even with the wooden part of the bow. Oh, it gets this sort of shivery, freaky, scary quality in my imagination. And this idea of, well, obviously the lyrics are talking about, being trapped, feeling out of place, and a freak on a leash. That's pretty self-explanatory. And as I read through the lyrics, that's what it's talking about. This squeaky violin-ish sound is kind of adding to that eerie quality of something is not right here. Something isn't supposed to be this way.
Feeling like a freak on a leash. Feeling like I have no release. How many times have I felt disease? Nothing in my
And the repetition of it.
is free. Sometimes I cannot take this place. Sometimes it's my life I can taste. Sometimes I cannot feel my face. You'll never see me far from grace. Something takes a part of me. You and I were meant to be. A cheat for me to lay. Something takes a part of me.
And this more metallic section, right? Even tending towards heavy metallic sound. To have it suddenly switch at the very end to that soft, more intimate, breathy quality voice is actually an effective little technique, shall I say? Because this whole section is, once you set in, you're in, and it just goes roaring on forwards, right? There's nothing really happening other than some roaring guitar, the voice. Again, it's fairly repetitive. There's not a lot happening, and so you start to feel like, okay, we're in this section. It's going to be like this to the end, and then we'll switch back to the other. But then instead, just before this section is over, it switches to something different. Something which really, instead of screaming it to the universe, suddenly whispers it in our ear. And it's a way of kind of pulling us close suddenly. And I find it actually quite musically effective in the context and in the presentation of the music. Okay, so this little section actually is to me, the most emotionally complex of the piece so far. Even though there are no lyrics, there's no melody, it's just this rhythm. Why? Because what's happening in the voice and then the instruments around it, it has this sort of dark quality, which is you hear in the, I'll say the metal section, but it also has a sort of frantic panic in the higher register. And so it's putting both of them very rapidly oscillating one from the other and almost layering them on top of the other. And then what's happening with the instrumentation around it, you have this little other squeak. But as it all blends together, you start to almost feel like you're hearing a dog barking in the mix. And that's why I had to back it up and think, is actual dog bark in there or not. I don't think there is. I think it's just the voice and the instruments working together and creates this impression. Well, Freak on a Leash. Now we have kind of an animal barking quality, which sounds frantic, distressed, angry, all the mix. It's as if it encapsulates, distills everything into this little non-verbal vocal expression. Just these few seconds here. Now it's as if there's something bearing down on this freak, this creature. That kind of changes things right at the end there. Oh, it brings to mind some of the wall, and puts this in that context of, oh, I'm trapped in a system, in a place that is stealing my soul, and the whole piece of music becomes this glimpse into the inner world, when actually on the outside, all we hear are children's voices playing. Well, as I said, I am very aware that there's a video to go with this song, and that it has some important contributions to the understanding of the music. So I'm taking this flexibly, but these are my first impressions from the music alone. And I'm going to be kind of curious to sit down with the video a little bit later and watch it and see, was I close? Was I off? But I'm curious to hear your comments as well and see what you think about this, my first impressions. And maybe even if you have ever listened to this piece without the video, maybe the first time you heard it was without the video, possibly. I'd be curious to hear what your first impressions of the music were before you saw the visual element. Well, there's my first exposure to Korn, and yes, I'm aware there's a video that goes with this, but I even did the same thing with Pink Floyd's The Wall, and I chose to listen to the music, to the album alone before watching the movie. And I've been forever grateful since, because yes, maybe I'm missing some things here. I missed some things on the movie too. But on the Wall movie. But at the same time, sometimes if you take away other influences, sometimes things come out of the music that you might have missed otherwise. And that is why I choose to do it this way. Maybe I will hear something that most of us miss. Maybe not. Maybe I'll miss a whole lot. But I can always go back and watch the movie later. I can't go back and listen to this unexposed to the movie later. So this is kind of a fun way of trying out new music. My first exposure to Korn, it was an interesting experience. Some interesting little musical elements that I found in this piece, and obviously it's a big band, so very possibly you will see it featured again on this channel at some point in the future. But there we have Freak on a Leash. I'll see you soon.